All right, we're all set.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Hello, everyone. My name is Jamara Sandbulte. Really nice to be here tonight. Before I start, the title is misleading. I will be talking about HCI. It's just I've used this presentation for different talks. So anyway, before we start, I want to just assess a little bit my public. So I know a little bit about my audience, okay? So are you all CS majors? No? Oh, that surprised me. Okay, so the ones who said no, what are your majors? Let's start with you. Yeah.
I'm a math major, but my interest in computer science extends to just as a hobby and because I'm interested in video games. I need
Okay.
to program video games.
Great. How about, I think you
Yeah.
too? Yeah.
Electrical engineer.
Okay, and you? You said UCS?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Someone else? You? Okay.
I'm a math major.
Math as well? Good. Anyone else? Did I miss? Physics? Okay. Anyone else? Awesome. Okay. Is there anyone in the social science background? Maybe linguistics, psychology?
I'm a double in linguistics and computer science.
Perfect. Okay. And you?
Thinking of adding linguistics.
Right. Okay, great, great. And I believe you're gonna understand why I ask those questions once I start talking about HCI. All right. So yeah, so again, my name is Jamara Sandbulte, and I recently joined UMD. Actually, I joined during COVID, so that was just a odd timing to join the department, but I'm really happy I did. And so finally, I'm having the chance to meet the students face to face and talk more about my research interests. So here I present just a summary of what I like to work with. So the first topic, as you can see, is human-computer interaction, which I'll be talking a little bit more. What is that about? And human-computer interaction is a very broad field, so you have to kind of select what is the area that you want to focus on. And I chose health informatics, more specific, wellness informatics. Why? Because generally when I say health informatics, people associate with the medical field. So some sort of related to illness or diseases and medical doctors, which is a great part of health informatics, but not the one that I am working with, okay? I focus more on the wellness part. So I try to focus on practice and behaviors that you can do to prevent you to get sick. Does that make sense? So it's the more proactive type of changes and practice and behaviors that you can take before something happens to you. So that's the direction I like to go. And I also have done some work with community informatics, with citizen science type of projects that I will talk later as well. As for the computing part, I've worked a lot with software development. Actually, the class that I teach now is about software development. So that's one of the things I really like to do. And I focus more in mobile applications. Not that I haven't developed for desktop, I do. I also have experience developing web, but mobile applications is the device that I have focused more, but I have plans to expand, as you will see soon. Okay, so what is HCI, right? Or how does HCI fit within computer science? Well, I would like to answer this question by asking you to think in this scenario, okay? I know some of you are in math, maybe, or electrical engineering, physics. Maybe you may find something similar to this in your field. If not, try to imagine this situation, okay? So when you're learning about programming and coding, especially in the class I'm teaching now, we talk about coding standards, right? Maybe you have heard about that. So those standards are suggestions on how to make your code readable, or how to make your code in a way that if other people see it, they will be able to understand what is that about, right? So imagine that scenario, and in theory it's really nice, but in reality, most people do not follow those standards. There's a lot of code available that's really hard to understand and really hard to even identify what is that about. They only know it works, but if you look at it, it's really hard to understand what it says. So in those cases, imagine you work and you're taking the code for someone else that is not following that standards. How would you feel if that was your case? You try to read a code that's really difficult and you cannot understand. So how do you feel about that? Or hard to maintain? Sad, right? It will be a challenge. If you're in a competition, for example, I know you guys will be participating in one soon, and you try to read a code that's completely confusing, it's really frustrating, right? So yeah, I feel that. I've been in that situation and I understand the feeling. So keep that in mind. Now imagine you are a user, okay? And here I have an image that is a very simple page for logging, right? So imagine your phone using the app, you try to log in and you keep receiving an error, and it's just not working. And so let me move this a little bit. Okay, so how do you feel when your app crashes or it just doesn't work? You're not able to log in. How do you feel as a user using the app? It's the same way or similar way, right? You almost throw your phone on the ground or something like that, right? It's really upsetting. Yes, it is. And so imagine those feelings and comparing the code experience, but now moving on to the user experience. That's how HCI try to, how can I say, address those situations, how HCI come to the page. Basically, it comes to these cases or scenarios because it's the field that start to see those situations like, we should do something about that, and try to take into consideration what the user is thinking when the app crashes, and also their behaviors, learning from them on what they do and see how they interact with that product, and taking that into consideration when you're developing a system. So here I present the HCI field, or just an example to give you an idea of what is this about. So as I said, it's a broad field that takes a lot from all those different areas, okay? So if you read the description I have in there, it says that it's a field that focuses on design of computer technology, in particular, the interaction between the humans part or the users and computers. So one thing I really like about this field, it's because it takes a little bit of what is out there. For example, we have the computer science, but we also have some part of the cognitive psychology and ergonomics. We have a little bit of social and organizational psychology, design and arts, all these fields coming together to try to improve the user experience, okay? So I think computer science is really important in this part because as you can see, the name say, it has the computer part, right? And it's the interaction between that component, the computer or the system with the user part or the human part. So to be more specific and thinking about computer science and HCI specifically, here I found this image that lists more specifically how computer science can work together with the social science or the other science, okay? So we have here on the human part, communication theory, industrial design, social science, cognitive psychology, human factors. As the computer science, we have the computer graphic, operating system, programming language, and how those fields interact. Here we have the interaction design that's proposed to make those experience a good one. So you're not frustrated and want to throw your phone away when the app crashes. Try to help you out in that situation. All right? Any questions? I don't know if should we leave the questions just to the end? What do you think?
Whatever works for you.
Okay, well, I can answer now if you have any questions. If not, we can wait. I'm not planning to talk for an hour. I want to leave time for questions. So we can wait until the end too, if that's what you prefer. All right, so here I list a little bit of what would be the HCI goals. So basically, it's important for this field to create interfaces between people and computers and how to design, evaluate, implement those systems in a way that satisfies the user. But then you may ask, why does it matter? Well, in my opinion, it is important because code is important. Yes, I am all for code, but I also think it's important the client that will be using that final product that you're developing, right? So sometimes it's easy for us just to focus on finishing up the product because we have a deadline and the person who is paying us really need this now. Yes, I understand the pressure, but if you think long-term, the person who will buy this service, they need to like that service, right? That's how business make money. So in those cases, it is important to think about their experience as well. So I believe with time now, things are evolving in that direction, that the business are also thinking of how the user will experience or interact the final product. And years ago, that was not so much taken into consideration, but I feel now that's present throughout the development process. So because of that, I think it's important to consider those aspects when you're developing a product, okay? All right, so let's go back to the first question I asked, how does HCI fit in computer science? So here I have a formal answer, but to summarize what I just presented, it's the researchers in computer science, they scale, they evaluate the better computer system, which is great. And the HCI basically extend that tradition by incorporating the human part. So I don't think we are separated. I think we should work together in a way that the human part will enhance what you have learned about the computer systems. Okay, so I'm not here to say, oh, it's incomplete or whatever. No, I'm here to say, let's work together. We should collaborate. And I think that's how we will develop better systems that will really satisfy our users, which is what I believe it's important to think about. All right. So now I have a suggested reading. I can send this link through Slack later. If you really want to know about all the history about HCI, this article was actually written by my advisor. So let's, let me talk about him a little bit. So he's working in this field for a very long time. And he wrote this article that really summarized really well what human interaction is. So I'm suggesting if you want to know more details, the dates, how things evolved, like the first computer to what we have now, this article presented really well. So I can share this later if you are interested, okay? Good. Now, again, going back to my research. All right, so yes, HCI, now you know what it is, you know how it fits in computer science. So I will present how I've used those ideas into research or what kind of work I've done, okay? So as I said earlier, I focus on health informatics, more specific, the wellness informatics, which is the part that helps people to stay well or before something, I don't want to say bad, but illness or something not great happens to a person. All right. So the overall research questions I try to answer on all my projects is, how do people use technology to share, collaborate, learn, and to manage their lives? Using that question as my base, I had developed this project. So this project was my dissertation project, okay? So let me do a little poll here. How many of you live apart from your family? Let's say your parents. Okay, most of you. All right, great. So that's my audience. That's the public I was focusing on my research. And I can give you all the details why I chose this public, et cetera, later. But just to summarize, I observed that on my own experience actually as well, living apart from my families, yes, we kept in touch. We would have phone calls and things like that. But something that we would never talk about was our healthy practices, or things we would do to be healthy. I would hear news like, oh, today I have a headache or things like that, but not conversations like, oh, I went for a walk today and it was awesome. You see the difference? So there I started to ask myself, so how can I motivate conversations about the positive sides of positive practice come up on those phone calls without the need of something, let's say, not great or bad happen, like a headache or something that wouldn't be so good. So then I started to investigate ways to do that. I use it user-centered design process. So that process, if you want to look it up later, you see that we conduct a lot of research with the user. So I had several interview sessions to learn for people, learn for the motivations, learn from the experience. And then based on that, we came up with a prototype. So here I present just the prototype screenshots, okay? And the idea of this prototype was just to see how people would react if such tool exists in real life. So it's not the final product, it's just a sample of how the final product would look like. Let's see. Yeah, so here I have just a short clip showing the interactions of the prototype. So we would present the prototype to people. We would either present the video or we would just give them a tablet and like, here, use it. And they would use it and we would record their reactions to that, okay? So based on that, we presented our prototype idea again, asked for their opinions, how they react. And after we learn all about that, oops, it's not going to the next one. Oh, that it is. We actually developed a web application and asked people to use this app for a week with a family member. And in this app, they would share. This is just a sample. This is not the pictures that people shared, okay? Share pictures showing healthy behaviors for a week. And that was really awesome because people really didn't think about healthy behaviors until we asked them to think about those healthy behaviors. So the first, I don't know, 3 days, they would post, pictures of their shoes because they would go for a walk, or their salad, or things like that, which is the straightforward thing that you would think, right? But as they kept thinking, as they kept using the application, we started to see things like brushing your teeth, or drinking water, or doing pottery, that if you don't really stop and intentionally think about those things, you don't really realize that those are healthy practices, right? It's really good for you to brush your teeth every day, but we just take that as ordinary that we forget about it. So anyway, we learn about those behaviors and realize that having those idea of the technology kind of working with you in your day-to-day, it can be beneficial in a way of prompting those conversations and making things that are invisible more visible. So given that, I just present a summary of my project. I want to continue this project. And now the idea I want to do is to expand. So for that first app that I showed you, it only had one data entry. We would collect just one type of data from our user. That would be pictures, right? That they chose to post within the app, and that would be our data entry. Right now, what I want to do, and please, if you have any suggestions, want to brainstorm, I would be more than happy to do that. But what I've been thinking is to include personal informatics in this system. So the idea is to expand the data entry in a way that we will learn more about the user context or what happened during their day more. And then based on that, we can suggest them activities of what they can do. So here are just some of the concepts that I'm thinking to apply, such as machine learning, recommendation systems, sensor data, and again, human-centered design process. So here is just an overview of the project that I have in my mind, okay? That I'm starting to put into practice. So here's the app that we have developed, and this app would send still pictures, but also together with this data, we would include sensor data from the personal informatics devices. So we could collect data such as sleep or movement or heart rate. And we also can collect some contextual data. So if, of course, with people's permission, okay? It's not like we'll be doing anything without people's consent. But we could collect data such as location, weather, calendar, and we could also ask them, so what is your goal for today? What is it that you want to do that would be beneficial for you? Collect all the data, put on a machine learning algorithm. Obviously, I'm being very simple in here, right? Talking language. And based on that, we would send a message and say, hey, how about you have a very stressful meeting today. I can see your heart, just 1 second, your heart rate going up. How about you go for a walk, and see if that would just reduce your stress level. So that's just a summary of how the big system would work. Yes.
So you said like also like suggestions.
Yes,
I have like a suggestion slash like kind of a question.
sure.
In the app, is there like any sort of thing to like ask people like, what do you like to do for this sort of thing? Like for exercise, like what do you prefer? Like, do you like running or walking or like doing this? So like what sort of healthy things you like to eat to like
Yeah.
get more what like personalize what they're gonna enjoy and it's healthy? Is there like,
Yes. On the first app that I showed, not this one. Oh, actually, yes, it's here. Sorry, the image is not very good, but we did collect information like that because we conduct like a pilot study to see how that would react. So we did a survey asking preferences for physical activity, just focusing on physical activity right now, because it was just a pilot study. So we wanted to learn how it would work, right? And based on that, we would suggest the users some things to do. So it was a good information, good way to learn. So we saw some good examples like this one. So for example, the first image over there, we said, based on this person profile, we suggest hiking to you because his daughter was using the app with him. So we said he liked hiking and his daughter also liked hiking. So we sent them a suggestion. And then the next day, he went for a hike. So we're like, oh, that's great. So we asked them later on the interview, so were you like, influenced or the suggestion was helpful? And he said, yes, it was helpful. The next day was a nice day, so I thought, why not? And we're like, oh, okay, so this may work. So how about we try to enhance this more, right? Because we are just focusing on physical activity. So how about we also get the weather data and see if it will be a good way for hiking, a good day for hiking, right? And et cetera, et cetera. So that's how that big plan came up. So great question, yeah. And that's why I'm thinking to expand that. Yes.
Is there a way to tag other people that like you did an activity with?
Not yet, but that could be a good function to include, yes. With the only thing, well, you could tag in a comment, you can refer to someone, but not in a picture. So yeah, that could be a good function.
Because if you like both went on it together, you might not both feel like posting about it.
That's
having,
true.
like, similar posts.
Yes,
but it'd be
absolutely.
Still useful.
And it could be a way to say you got your social time for the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a great idea.
And then
Mhm.
I can also kind of see like who do you interact with online versus where you actually interacting with like in real life,
Mhm.
which would be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great suggestion. Thank you. Any more? Yes.
What food? Yeah, that'd be pretty hard because you have to don't know how to keep. No one wants to share their database, but
Yeah, that's why we didn't start with food, But there is this project right here. I can open to show you guys later, but they focus on eating habits, but only eating habits. I think, I don't know, but I'm assuming based on the paper I read from them, it's just really hard to process, like you said. And so combining, for example, food and physical activity, it will be a big algorithm to process everything. So I think it needs to be done in parts, like, okay, let's try to improve the recommendations and then include one more data entry and see how that works and see if the machine learning learn well and make a good suggestion, things like that. But people are trying that. And yeah, so as you can see, there's someone else working in a project focusing on eating habits. In my case, if you notice on the image, I'm go back here, I'm focusing on the wellness part. So yes, we would collect food because that's part of wellness and physical activity as well. But my intention is focusing on mental wellness. So try to reduce stress, or for example, if we collect the sleep data, maybe suggest, hey, you didn't sleep well last night. So how about you go to bed early? Something like that, And mostly the reason why I'm focusing on the mental part is for two reasons. As far as I know, maybe you know different, but as far as I know, I haven't seen an application that would use information like that, focusing on mental illness. So it's a gap in research. And also the second reason is just our lives right now. With COVID and everything, I just feel it's important to focus on mental illness. I just feel like anything that could help us to just feel, less stress or help with anxieties and things like that could be beneficial. So those are the two reasons I can mention out why I'm focusing on that. So yes, okay, so so the first part of that big project, like I said, we will have to break in small projects, would be the improving the recommendation system. So here are just several ways that can be improved. Like I said, it was just a pilot study, so it has a lot of work to be done still. So for example, recommendations based on the pictures posted, so that would require some image processing that right now it does not exist in the application. So based on different users' preferences, based on the more contextual data from the sensors, for example, and also based on the user's goal. So these are just few ideas on how we can improve that first project. And the second way we can improve, kind of combining with the first one, is the sensors data and the machine learning part. So using, let's say, Fitbit. So using that data from Fitbit, training an algorithm and see if you can provide a good recommendation for you for an activity that you can do in the end of the day. So that would be a second project that we would try to work and make it, see if it would be effective or not. Questions? Yes.
Would it only be like Fitbit, or would it also do like Samsung watches as with health stuff, or like Apple watches as well?
Yeah, so Fitbit there is just one example. But definitely I would like to think smartwatch, and then hopefully we can use a platform that can work across platforms. So if you had Samsung, if you had Apple, doesn't matter, it would work in both. That would be ideal. So yeah, smartwatch. Fitbit is just an example. Yeah. All right, so here's just my prototype that I did for just the interface. It will not look like this, okay? I wrote a proposal to get funding for this project and I needed to give them an image. So this is what I think it will look like, but it may change. Anyway, so it would be like the events supposedly there had an agenda or your calendar. So we have a meeting and then we detected you didn't sleep well. So what is it that you would like to do today? And a few suggestions there. And then we check the weather and then a message suggesting the person to go for a walk. And we also have a reflection part that I didn't talk early, but it's something I would like to include as well, because this would help us to know if the suggestion is working or not, right? So how would you know that my suggestion for walk was effective or not? So we can ask the user feedback and ask them to tell us if it was a good suggestion or not. So just to give you an image and a visual on how this project would look like. Okay, so this is just something I want to do, and I've applied to get funding. Let's see if I will get it, but I have other ideas too. So one thing that I presented on my prototype, but I didn't have time to present on the application itself, was the gamification function. So basically, we proposed an idea to have a sort of game in the application, but the people didn't really like the idea of gamification just because they associated that with competition. So they were like, why create competition when there is no competition in my family? So why I want to compete with my dad? That doesn't make any sense. So I decided to remove that for the final system, but I still want to explore this more. So how can you propose a game that will promote cooperation, collaboration instead of competition? Does it make sense? Yes.
There's this one app that's like a habit tracker, but it gamifies your life supposedly. And basically, as you complete your habits, you get coins.
Oh,
And then you can
okay.
use those coins to buy items to fight monsters in the game.
Oh, fun.
So it's like what you're building in your life affects the game. And
There
it's
you
not
go.
the game.
Right.
Is that the Vidica? Yeah,
What is the
that's
name?
a Vidica, like Avid account?
Oh, I will look it up. Yes, that's a great example because
They
that's
have-
what I felt like, okay, so how about we do something like a board game, like a journey, for people to, as they achieve something, they move forwards in that was just an idea, but actually this needs to be worked. So if you have interest to work with me, something like this, please talk to me and we can come up with, just an idea. Yeah,
I just had another quick thought. You,
yeah,
okay, kind of similar vein to what, he was saying. Like as you go through, maybe like as you complete stuff, recommendations, like you get like points. And then there's like some kind of level thing, like, oh, you leveled up and you get like a rank. It's not like published, it's not like a leaderboard, but it's just kind of like a personal thing, like, oh, I've got this rank, and just kind of like building up. I don't know really
it's perfect.
what you would do for it, but yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of something to be like, oh, hey, look at my, I've accomplished this
So
or
you can like customize your character.
Yeah, avatars. Yes.
I just find it interesting that people wouldn't want to compete.
I know, right?
Yeah,
Me too.
I always find, yeah.
That was something surprising for me too. I thought games would be, I don't know, people would be all for it. But I guess it's because the public or the audience that I was focusing. So if you are competing with, for example, a classmate, that may be more fun than if I ask you to compete with your mom. You know what I mean? For some families, that may not work.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Another thing with Vidica is it can help you track doing a non-accident, so like not smoking that day.
Oh,
like
there
that.
you go.
And you can also like tell it like this is a easy or think if it's an easy goal or if it's a hard goal. And you can
Yeah.
do lots of points.
Level up the
You
goal.
know, even though that's like self-reported, like that's I have found to like you still trust that like
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. I really like the idea of not doing something, right? Because it is true, like if I don't play video games for 8 hours, it's a good thing.
yeah.
Or,
Did I
you know,
not-
just one example, I'm not judging anyone, just,
Did I not? So
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and did I fail at that a little bit or did I fail really hard? Like,
Right.
Top or did I not?
I think that's a really important thing, because so many of them are just black and white. You either
Exactly.
smoke, you did, and then you're ruined.
Yeah,
And I think there's very little that just can say,
that
I
gray
still
area,
wanna
right?
try.
Yeah,
Like, if you have a cigarette and like, oh, if the thing motivating you to not do it is this app, you know, like you lost your streak, well, okay, I'll have another couple.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
it's like-
absolutely.
If there's still like room to like, it's a step back, but it's not falling off the way again.
Mhm. Even the language they use, I don't like the word fail, right? Like, how about we frame it differently? And yeah, those are great ideas. Thank you. That's amazing. Really good. Okay, one more, and then I'll open for more questions. One thing I really want to also focus on, like I said, my work focus on families, but I did this work in Pennsylvania. And most of the families in Pennsylvania are white families. It was really hard, maybe the location we were, but it was really hard to find diverse families. So that's something I would like to do, because I'm sure depending on the location or the context of the family are, it's different, and I will learn things differently, right? So I really would like to try to conduct experiments, you know, as families from different backgrounds and locations choose the app in their context and see if it would be effective. We will learn new things. Maybe the gaming idea will work for them. You know what I mean? So I really hoping in the future I'll be able to do that, to develop or propose an idea that would think of those families as well. All right, final slide, I promise. I'm open to talk and brainstorm. Like I said, that health informatics has been my major projects, but I've done work with community informatics. And also I'm just open to talk about HCI in general. Maybe you have an idea, it's not related to what I do, but I can give you a direction. Hey, how about you check this person and see the work, and that could be a way for you to connect more about HCI in general. All right. And here's my contact information. My office is 324B. I also am sharing a lab with Dr. Willison. Here's my email. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for listening to me tonight. And if you have questions or comments, I'll be happy to answer. Yes, oh, sorry.
This might be like slightly left field, but one thing I notice on dating apps a lot is like people say like, you know, I'm looking to date or looking for somebody to go to the gym, you know, or something like that. And I think sometimes there you can have a non-romantic matchmaking.
Yeah.
There's a niche open for that.
Yeah.
This is a thought.
Yeah, well, I know some people who have done work in that area, so I can send you
That'd
the
be cool, yeah.
professor's name later. Yeah, that's a good question. Yes.
This really isn't exactly, well, it is. What exactly branch of like the HCI would you say is like the, like kind of towards the beginning where there was like the login screen And
Oh,
there
yeah.
was a kind of one where it's this error versus where it actually gives you feedback
Yeah,
and like a kind of line through. It's like, oh, you forgot your password.
yeah,
Like that sort of thing, I think is really interesting. What exactly is that branch?
usability.
Okay.
So, inside HCI, let me go back to that slide. Maybe it shows there. We have the cognitive psychology and ergonomics and this social organizational psychology. So I believe that the usability part comes from these two. And they would use those feedback. So you type your username, password, and when, an arrow would show up or forgot password message, or they study where is the best location for those, white fields to be on the screen, should be in the middle, should be on top, should be on the bottom, how it should look like. So all those details, maybe in above arts too, are considered in the usability field. And there are several testing that you can do to learn users' preferences, including eye tracking. So I don't know if you are familiar with, but they do a lot of testings where they ask someone to interact with a website and they keep track of your eye movements to see what are the first things that you look at, how long, and did you find that small image that I put in the top or not? So experiments like that are done with usability. Yeah. Yes.
So going back to like cooperation versus competition,
Right.
how would you gamify cooperation? Because like competition seems, kind of easier to gamify because
Yeah.
winning is its own reward. But with cooperation, like how do you-
Yeah, that's what I want to find out too. That's why I thought a good way of doing that could be showing like a progress or representing as more like I am making progress. Even like you said, even if the progress is like I didn't do something today, that's a progress. Then I am doing this because I want to win the game against whoever. I'm doing this for myself or something like that. Yes.
Do like aggregate goals for your network.
Can you do what? Sorry.
Aggregate goals for your network. So like
Yeah, absolutely. Because we cannot forget the social part, right? That's really influential. Although some people may not like competition, different reasons. Maybe it's just their personality, who knows? But I'm sure they will like to be cheered up, like, hey, good job, by someone else. So yes, that could be a way for sure. Yes,
Maybe you could have like teams competing against each other instead of just.
could be a
individuals.
way.
You could
Yeah.
have, like family versus family.
Like
Really
family,
fun
family.
dynamic.
Yeah, that's true. Why not? People love that
And then
TV
like
show. Yeah.
whoever wins and loses is a little less personal, but like you're also cheering each other on.
And I think it could be, I don't know, just interesting for interventions. Like you use the word losing, but how about, oh, that person is behind. What can I do to walk together? Like what's happening? Should we review your goal? Maybe it was not a realistic goal. How about we start smaller? You know what I mean? So just keep framing the words and the ways that people present games nowadays. I think everything could, remove that competition, or maybe just, it's more like we are working together towards a goal than we are competing each other. I don't know. Just an idea. Yeah.
I mean, the team wouldn't even necessarily have to compete against another team. They can compete for a goal.
Right. Yes.
And then if someone's not pulling their slack, then there's some.
Yeah. Yeah. That's another way to see it.
I just thought you might be able to have goals for like a group of people, like for your family. A goal could be walk 10 miles.
Right.
And then anyone in the group or your family can work towards that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some that will overlap with everyone, and then maybe people hike together at the same time to work toward that goal.
Right,
maybe
yeah,
that's
that would be
more-
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome. They'll be all online through Zoom and walking together. Yeah, that would be great. I like that. Good, good, yeah.
And maybe just kind of go along with that, it's like, you have like these family goals, but you still have like your individual goals as
Right,
well.
yes.
So like, you're trying to fulfill those, but you're also fulfilling these ones that are slightly different, you know?
Yeah,
So it's kind of, because like, maybe for some things, like, some things you do to fill for your personal can like fill up that too.
yeah,
So it's like, you're doing just to fill your physical, but so you're feeling like you're doing more, even though it's the same amount, because it's counting for more.
yes,
And
yes,
then other people, chip in with theirs, and then it like kind of fills out like pretty quick.
right, yes, yes, absolutely. We should always, yes, it's the family, it's the group, but also your individual self, right? Like thinking about, yes, I'm doing everything with them, but I'm also feeling the benefits of going for a run or something like that, right? Yes, absolutely. Mhm. Any more comments? Yes.
I just want to say, I'm really glad you're going into the wearable stuff.
Oh,
Because
good.
it bothers me so much when you see things like this, and you can only do it on the phone. And I know that everybody has a watch, but that's like the big draw of the watch, is
Yeah.
to do things like this.
Yes, I
And when
know.
you only have it on the phone,
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense.
yeah, yeah. But I would say the watch is kind of a new device too. There's not a lot of, it's very limited too. Like its space, if you see the screen size, it's really limited to a phone. So yeah, it will definitely be a challenge, how you can make that work. Yeah.
Like battery problem. too.
Yeah, it's a
It's
lot
not
of
just that
challenges.
It will run out of battery, it's also that like the watch will like kill your app if it doesn't like how you're using the battery, unless you like have it out mode. So like there's like, I think there's some things that watch manufacturers could do, like API programming wise, to like make the contacts less of a hassle.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mhm. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and I guess there's pizza or.
Yeah, we got pizza over there. We also got some drinks. I don't think we have enough cups for everybody, but like, find it, we'll figure it out.
Thank you.
Some pizza as well, if you like.
Oh, sure, yeah, absolutely.
I'm Zach.
Oh, hi, nice to meet you. Okay.
Really great conversation.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I was able to make it. Yeah, yeah. So how big is this group?
I think usually, say about 80% of the room is filled.
Okay, good.
I think midterms this week dampen
Oh,
things, but
that's right.
yeah,
Okay,
usually there's.
okay, okay. Well, I can always come back.
Yeah.
Once I learn more, I can come and share what I learned. So, yeah, yeah.
Is there any, maybe there'll be in the future a class on ACM?
Yes, I am working a proposal to have, we will start as a special topic